All right, and welcome. Let's see, we're going to check on my little dashboards here to make sure we're working, and we're live. We're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube. So it's always really helpful if you can go ahead and throw a little comment over there that just lets me know that you are seeing the live stream. And today we're going to talk about presets. And many people are moving up. They were with RX7, RX6. If you look at my my screen at the bottom here, let me see if you can see that. I'm going to change one little setting here. All right. So at the bottom here, I have RX3, 4, RX5, RX6, RX7, RX8, RX9, and RX10 are all sitting on this machine simply because I have clients that go back all those. When I started with I think I started with RX3. I got on the beta on RX4. Anyway, I've been doing this a long time. And so I've had to upgrade, and it's always been this minor pain that you have to go through, and you have to manually move things from one version to another. And that's fine. That's what happened. And oh, let's see. Colette, thank you for letting me know. Yeah, sounds great. I appreciate that. And Joe on YouTube, fantastic. Okay. And I'm live in Florida. I like Florida. My son's in Florida. So, matter of fact, I'm visiting Florida sometime in May, I believe, because that's when my granddaughter's first birthday is. So I'll be there in May. So anyway, for a few days. I know you really care about my travel plans. Sorry about that. So what I'm going to do is we have the same thing, and this will come up in the future. Now, right now, RX, if you go between version to version, so if you were on 9 and you went to 10, everything just goes. But if you were on 8 and you move to 10, if you make these, and a lot of us do that, we'll wait a couple versions before we jump, and that's fine. And note that, of course, most of you know this, that I've had a course for a long time, multiple years, about learning all this stuff, RX Jumpstart, and I'm on version 2, and it covers all the settings and making great audio without a whole lot of effort. So that's there always for you. And anybody who buys that, you get 15 minutes of my time where I help you tune things to your audio step by step. So be sure to check that out in addition. So today I'm talking about getting from RX7 to RX10, for example. I have both of those up here right now. This is RX7 on my left and RX8 on my right. Hopefully it's not inverted on your screen. That's probably right the way it is. And but what you'll notice is that when you just did the install in 10, none of your settings, presets that you have created previously are going to come over to RX10. So it's a little bit annoying, or it's like, I've got everything already done over here in 7 or 8 or sometimes 6 or 5, depending on how long you've been around this. And now you go to 10 and it's not there. Well, what do? Well, it's actually way simpler than most people believe. In both of these, there is a folder in the background that contains the information we need. And they were smart enough eventually to change something. And I'll talk about that in just a second. For example, there are presets here. So we'll use multi-click as an example. And I did go ahead and did some prep work here earlier. I'm going to take multi-click, and I've set it to some extreme crazy. Well, let me see if I did that. I'm going to call this Jumpstart one. Let me set these to extreme crazy levels. Just because, first, don't do this. Don't take my settings here. I'm messing with them on purpose so that you can see I have taken them from 7 and they are going to work in 10. So I'm starting with weirdo settings. Do not take these as well. Don said, here, I'll even zoom in on them this way. If you're totally missing it, take my settings. Don't do that. I'm just putting them at odd settings so that you can see that my click widening is at 4.1 and my sensitivity is at 6.4, because I'm a very sensitive kind of guy. And the frequency skew is at 7.9. Do not do that. Do not assume that hey, there's the settings he uses. I am setting them to weirdo settings, things that don't make any sense to me. I would not have these settings, but I want you to see, and then I'm going to save my preset. All right, so we'll update that. It's not really save. It's called update or add, either one of those. So we have that right there. Jumpstart MDC in DevFree, that multi-click. And I'm going to move that right over here to this other version. So let me zoom back out so you can see them both on the screen. Now, it gets confusing when they're both on the screen. So what I'm going to do is take 10. I'm going to put 10 in, what do we call this? Waveform view. I'm just laughing at myself because I drew a blank there. I had a senior moment for a half a second there or whatever. Sometimes it's longer, but we won't discuss that. All right. Not all seniors are the same. remember some things. And it is amazing what I don't remember and what I do remember. That's life. So you'll see Jumpstart, NDC. Now, there's two things that we could do behind the scenes. Guess what? Each of these has their own folder where all the presets live. And the question is, when the presets live different places, what is the easy button for finding those presets? All right. And so here's the easy way. If you go into this, let's make sure. Let me go over here, multi-click, and let's make sure that this one, I already have this here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to remove it. And yes, I will remove it. So it's gone. Okay. But I also have changed all the numbers here. So you would see, even if I had it there, it's going to have some different numbers. So now I've guaranteed, I guess I practiced this earlier today once. I just made sure that I remembered all this. I do this, I've done it 100 times with clients where I've gone in and helped them transition from one to another. And what it really is in the background. You copy the right things from one place to another, and you get 95% of it done easily. Okay? But then, of course, they go, well, where in the world is it? Well, here's the easy button. You go ahead, and I'll zoom in on this. And what's going to happen is, hold on. I'm going to change something here. We'll go back here. All right. We go to the hamburger menu at the top of every module. If you don't know about the hamburger menu and the presets and all, get the RX Jumpstart, because a lot more details there. So I'm skipping over some things. Sorry. Otherwise, we'd be here for hours. But in here, there's this great thing that no one pays attention to called Explore Preset. All right. And when I choose Explore Preset, it came up on my other screen here. Let me take this one, bring this over here so that you can see it. And there is my little preset. Now, from the Mac or the PC, doesn't matter which one, I have a tendency, if I'm auditing this stuff, to click on Date Modified so that my latest ones flow to the top. So in RX7, note, this is something that most people don't pay attention to. I'll zoom out there. And when I do that, what happens is you can see that I'm in the RX7 Audio Editor Presets multi-click folder. Now, did I really care? No, because what I did was I came over here and I said, where are you? And I said, explore, and it will come up and it will show me that. And to note the ones now in the old days, let's go back a few years, I think 2019, 2018, and earlier, maybe 2020, I don't remember exactly. They did change the folder location, which is probably why people are a little bit confused here and there. It used to be that all the presets, both user and built-in, lived in their own set of folders. So if I go back up here to presets, you will see that each one of the presets that existed back in the day for RX7 had a corresponding folder. And by the way, they still do. But what they've been smart enough to do is when we go over to version 10, so I have it set up to be the waveform view in version 10. I open up multi-click, and I do the same thing over here, which is ask it, explore presets. This is the little trick, that once you know about it, it's just too easy. And it is covered, some of this is covered in the Jumpstart where we do the presets and things like that. But you explore presets here, and what happens is it comes up. And one of the things you'll notice is this. It came up twice for some reason there. That we have in version 7, we had RX7 Audio Editor presets. And then if I zoom in right here, you're going to see that it is RX Audio Editor. So instead of saying, I don't know what they're going to do with, when it's RX11 someday, I guess they're just going to, I don't know, over my pay grade. But now they're called user presets. And when I look in the multi-click, everything there is related to simply the ones that you have created. And so when we're over here, well, you get something different. This was all presets when I was in the multi-click, the ones that iZotope provided, and the ones and your custom ones. So if you sort those by date modified, then they're always yours will sort to the top. So what does that mean? I can take this and drag this over by default, because in my case, I'm moving between, because of the folder structure and what's happening, that's going to move them, and they're on the same drive, and on the same drive, they're moved. On both the Mac and the PC, when you add the control or command key, you are going to get something different here. And by the way, I press the key. My keyboard, I go back and forth between the Mac and the PC. I'm on my PC. The same thing works on the Mac, okay? So when I choose Control or Command, that turns it into a copy. And I can copy this one over here. And now it just put the same one. Now, I could have brought the whole folder structure and dropped it over here as well. I can bring over individual ones, or I can bring the whole folder structure. Personally, I have a tendency to just, it depends on if they're mine. I bring over the ones I want. And by the way, a lot of times when you're going between 7 and 10 or 8 and 10, it's actually time to also review what you've been doing. A lot of us have had updates to our rooms, our spaces, our mics, our interfaces, our performance. Man, I hope I'm better now than I was 3 years ago. And I hope that, and my mouth noise might have changed. I might need more mouth noise reduction. I might need a little less. I might need more background noise. It's a really great time to take 30 minutes and audit all your settings. And if you look at the ones that you have and that you want to have in the new one, cool, I would do it. That's the perfect time, okay? And it makes sense, by the way. That's when you would also, if you're not really, like if you did them yourself and you weren't sure, I got this down to a science. You can go through step by step, and I talk about how and why and what to listen for and that stuff. And then I help you tune them at the very end, okay? So now what's going to happen is when I go over here, my mouth to click at first will not show that new one. It's called Jumpstart MDC. And that is not showing up in my list right here. No matter how I scroll it, you will not see it. But there's an extra command over here. Reload presets. And when I do that, now when I go over here, look at there's that puppy. And look at that, there's all the weirdo settings. So let me zoom in on that so you can see it clearly. Weirdo settings. I have 6.4, 7.9, and 4.1 are the three in order. I go over to this other one here, and I have the same thing. This is RX7. You can see it there at the very, very top. I move over to the right to my other one, click on this guy, move it over for you so you can see that. And that's 6.4, 7.9, 4.1. If I zoom out, then what you see is those two are the same, okay? Let me see if I can even move this over. You can get an idea. Look at that. Same settings, both the same. I'll zoom in there, and it's super easy. You can see the top one's 7. The bottom one is 10. Settings are the same. All I did was drag it over. So it's really, the big trick is knowing the right places to go. And there is a folder for the module chains as well. So once you're, I only use like 5 of these tools on all my voiceover stuff, plus the module chains and the batch processes. I do use those for everything. But I don't use most of these things if I'm in my own studio, nor should you. For example, de-reverb. De-reverb is great if you're recording from a hotel room. If you're recording in your own space, hey, fix a space. That's the first recommendation. Get yourself in a space where you have some blankets and quilts and pillows and foam, and behind me I've got custom sound panels and things like that. Get all that stuff in place. I do have a course on building that kind of stuff, but point being, get your room set up to where it's quiet. It does not have a lot of reverb. It does not have a lot of reflections. And then you don't need these tools. But if you're in a hotel, hey, then that's a different thing. If you're recording on the road, that's a different thing. If you're recording in different places, you normally record in your own good studio, and now you're recording at your vacation location. And so, yeah, then I'd be using these other things. But you're only going to have a few things that you need to bring over. And you could, if you know how the Finder works, if you know how File Explorer works, you can go ahead and go back. And let me real quick give you an idea here. I do Explore Presets. Well, if I back up a level, in this case, in the old days, it had everything. If I go over here to 10, and I bring this over here, and I say, hey, Explore Presets, you're going to notice that they changed something. And what happens is all the presets now, when I go up a level, I'm only going to have things that I have actually changed. It is not showing all of them. I have more tools than, well, since I have RX Advanced on this machine here, and when I go to all, I have all these tools. They all could have their own folder. But the reality is, in the user presets, let's go look at some of those. Explore preset. When you look at the user presets here, and I go look at them all, I only have a minor subset. These are the ones that I have created presets for. That is not the complete list that's right here. Center extract isn't there. Declip is not there, and I could go on. Dewind is not there. Deconstruct is not there. If you look at my list here, it is only a subset, and they're smarter about it, and they cleverly named it user presets. So now when I go to 10 to 11, they have a spot that they have designated, and they're going to bring that over for RX11, which, people are, hey, when's RX11 coming out? Nobody knows. Nobody externally knows. But I guarantee you, the day RX10 shipped originally, they had a team that was already working on RX11. And really, if you truth be told, it's actually before that day. Before 10 ships, some of the team is dedicated to what they're doing in the future. That's just the way it works in software. When one version is shipping, the next version is in development in the background. We don't know about it, but they made it easy on themselves moving forward. When they go from 10 to 11, it's going to bring over all the custom stuff, and then that means you're not touching the previous ones. And then a couple other minor things that are going to come up. You're going to go through and find the tools you used. You're going to copy those folders over. Because in the old versions, depending on how far back you're going, you may have a situation that it's just showing all of them. You could copy the whole preset folder over. I don't really recommend that. It's not ideal. There are some minor side effects. I prefer to copy just the things that I know are in one and I want to use them again, or I'm going to recreate them. And then right now, we're going to go off on a little side trip. Here's some things to be aware of. If I bring over my spectral repair, spectral denoise, those from RX7 are not going to work in RX10. Why? I don't know. I really don't know exactly. But if I go, let me show you what I mean here. Here's one from, this is a custom one. Let's go ahead and look at this over here. And I'll show you what I mean. Spectral denoise is a special one. Spectral denoise has a bunch of settings that you can set that mean something, and you can pick all those and set them, and they are specific to your audio and your situation. Do not ape my settings. Big mistake. If you want your audio to sound terrible, go ahead and take spectral denoise and use somebody else's settings. It's exactly like, hey, can I borrow your shoes? Sure. That doesn't mean they're going to fit. You're going to end up with blisters, or they're not, or you're going to fall off when you're in the snow. I went to Michigan recently and borrowed somebody's boots. And let's just say I wore about 3.5 pairs of socks, and they still didn't fit me well. Luckily, I was only there for a couple days, so that's fine. It worked great. But you're going to notice something. You see this little graphy thing here, this graphical display? When you bring that over, well, I should just do it. I'll bring it over here. I'll just show you that it is not a good thing. We're going to take that one again, spectral denoise, and we're going to find out. Let's see if that's a, there it is. Okay, there it is. Take this, explore preset, and we found that one. That one is right here. I'll copy that guy. I'll do it the way visually so you can see it. I normally do this keyboard shortcuts, but hey, it'll work over here. User presets. And we're now in RX10 on this side. And I go to spectral denoise, and I have a whole bunch of them over here. Okay. So when I take that, and I can just right click over here someplace and paste that guy in. And then, yep, there it is. RX Jumpstart, June 2019. And I'll go right over here, and I go to spectral denoise, and I'm going to look for it. Here's the interesting thing. First off, it's not going to show up at first, because what did I have to do? Anybody remember? Right click, reload presets, and then now it will go ahead. And what was that one called over here? RX Jumpstart. I can't find the arrow. There it is, right there. Okay, this is interesting. So this one, look at that. It's different. It's not the same. It didn't bring over everything. It did bring over the numbers right here. It does not bring over this graph correctly. I don't know why. I just knew that years ago, so I learned, hey, it is not going to bring over this graph correctly. But it's a great time to say, you know what? Has my situation changed in the last couple of years? What amazes me is people will set these things up, and then 2 years later, they'll never recheck them. And it's a really good thing to take. And I'll take this guy. Let me move it over to a waveform view just so we can see which one we're dealing with here. So in 10, I'd go over here. This isn't my audio. I don't even know what it is. Somebody sent me a test file. And I'm going to take this, and let's pretend that I'm going to do this. And I'm going to relearn that puppy on some noise. And there it is. Okay. Now this doesn't match this one because it's not the same file, not the same room, not the same space. But now if I do that and I take it and I ask it to update it here on this side, now it'll work fine. If I do not go through that learn process, then what it's learned is wrong. And when you play it, it will sound like your audio is underwater. And so I've seen this 100 times where somebody's upgraded or they've moved machines. Even if they went from 7 to 7, you need to relearn it on the new machine, just like you learned it on the old machine. And if you're unclear about how to learn it and what to look for and where to do it and all that kind of stuff, it is all covered in the Jumpstart. I don't mean to be a broken record on that. You can do it all without the Jumpstart. Jumpstart just gives you perspective and details for doing this well. And then if something doesn't make sense, you get a hold of me because that's included in the Jumpstart as well. So this is the only one that I know of that requires you to do tweak something here in the new version. And these numbers are still highly suspect because when I created the one on the left here in RX7, hey, it's 2024. I'm learning my dates too. And it's a few years. And conditions change. Now there's a noise in the background that wasn't there in the original, or a noise is gone. So it's either doing too much or too little. Great time to reevaluate. Spectral denoise is the one. If you ever have it sound underwater, and then because people learn it on the wrong things accidentally, it just doesn't work like every other tool. This is an industrial grade, amazing tool that can do some amazing things. It also can do some amazingly destructive things if applied incorrectly. If I'm going to cook, we have a new, what do we have? What is it? It's an air fryer. We have a new air fryer because our kids got us an air fryer for Christmas. And everybody loves their air fryers, okay? So we put bacon in the air fryer. What happens? You leave it in 2 minutes too long and you get bacon that isn't just crisp. You get it toasted to where it's almost burnt. And you have to learn and readjust some tweaks, and then maybe we'll love an air fryer too. Right now, we have had a couple things that are really good out of it. But we've also overcooked a couple things, and we're learning. And it's the time to reevaluate. All right, how long does it go in? Is it frozen? Is it whatever? You have to relearn a little bit when you get a new one. Not much. Almost everything else will come over, including your module change. So what I do is I take all the ones that I brought over and I create a new module chain that has those specific things that I've brought over, and then I just run the whole module chain. And if one of them was not working right, because I go through and I do this. So this is spectral denoise. Let me throw that in there. I'll take spectral denoise. And so I brought that one over. I would check it, and I would make sure that I am choosing my brand new preset, the one that I just did. And then if the whole thing runs, then great, everything's working right. And then I evaluate it. And for example, since I'm going to use this to test to begin with, I'll just pull out or turn off all the other things. But normally what I would do is I would move 4 things. I will test 4 things. And only if something fails and it didn't work out right, then I'll go back and figure out, turn them on one at a time. Which one did I miss? And then I'll check, hey, is the EQ wrong? No, that's right, wrong, whatever. I will evaluate, figure that out. And as long as they are all runs here, fine. And then the other thing that I will do is I'll build my batch. But the batch is also, because that batches were different in RX7. Wait, let me check. I think I would know this. I get mixed up now. It's been, yeah. So look at the batch processor in RX7. If you're coming from RX7 to anything beyond that, batch processing is totally different. And I was really happy when they changed the batch processor. I did lose one feature that I really liked, but it's an advanced feature that 98% of the people will never know about, care about, but be bothered by. There's a few pro audio editors like myself. There's one thing I liked the way they were doing it better than the last one, but most of it I really am super happy with the way that works. And you will have to go through and rebuild your batch process potentially, but that that you can do in less than 5 minutes. That's super easy. And then the other thing that you can do that you have to deal with is if you're coming from this version to this version, the keyboard shortcuts don't come over. So that's the kind of final thing that you need to do is go under Edit, Preferences, and Keyboard right there, and make sure that you have your keyboard shortcuts set up. You can open them side by side. That is one thing that you'll have to do, but many people don't have any keyboard shortcuts. They're just using the stock ones. But if you did create some custom ones, I have a bunch of custom ones, then I had to go through and update that. That in the future will be taken care of. Okay? They've already got it worked out. If you go from 9 to 10, it brings over all this stuff. If you go from 9 to 11, I suspect, can't prove, because 11 could be 3 months away or 3 years away, but I predict sometime in the next year, 11 will come out. Then it'll probably bring forward. I know 9 to 10 brings forward your keyboard shortcuts and all that stuff easily. All your presets come over, your module chains come over. That all comes over when you're going one generation like that. But I predict that when you go from 9 to 11, that it'll also bring over all that stuff because they put in the infrastructure from going to 9 to 10, and I predict it'll go from 9 to 11 as well. But hey, don't hold me to that. I don't work for them, but I predict that'll happen. Okay, so the two things you need to do: Spectral denoise. That's the one that trips everybody up. You have to get that one and retrain it on the new version. The other ones, all modules that we use in VoiceOver, best I know, they all work. Okay, if there's one that doesn't work, you get a hold of me because I want to know about it. Okay, I definitely want to know about that. But all the ones I've tested, they just come over. You can drag them over, add the control command key, makes a copy, works great, easy. And you can have both on your machine at the same time. There's no reason to take 7 off your machine in the early stages until you have everything tested, or 8, or 9, or 6, or 5, or whatever. There just is no reason to take that off your machine in the short term. The app itself is not that big. It's all the presets. It's all the other stuff that's pretty big. Now, I haven't even been looking at questions here. And so, a little off topic, I have to ask, I hear my deep breaths when I'm working on my audio. The big 5 module has everything wonderfully to reduce breath. Is it okay, or should I use another module? You actually should watch the video on breathing, booth breathing. I have a video that I'll throw in the comments for this that talks about breathing. First off, I have hundreds of people who have changed it in their performance. And also, you and me will hear our breaths more than 98% of the other people out there. That's normal. If I'm listening for sibilants, I will hear sibilants. If I'm looking for if you've ever been thinking of buying a car, I have an SUV. The latest one that I have, when I bought it, it's white. I go into a parking lot and it's like 400 other people. I think, I thought I was, I'm a fashion leader. You can tell I have on my Costco shirt right here. I'm not. It's like, if you go look for a car, my mom we bought her a used car, and it's like, oh, there's one of those, and there's one of those. I've seen her car now over and over. It wasn't even on my radar screen. I don't know if I don't even remember like that model existed practically before I went, and we needed a new car for her, a used car, and we picked a model and the color and all that. Now I see them all over the place. I saw one I was driving yesterday, and I saw, as I said to my wife, there's the upgraded version of my mom's car, because cause I like hers enough. It's like, I might get one of those for me. But point being, this wasn't even noticeable to me, this brand of car. I mean, I know the brand, Toyota, but I didn't know the specific model that we were looking at until I ended up buying one for my mom and going, oh, okay, this is cool. It's a nice car. I really like it. And then I just look around and it's like, oh, well, a lot of other people had that same impression and they bought them too, but I hadn't noticed it. So I have a great video on that I call Booth Breathing and how to take control of that. And anybody who chooses. I've had people that are ex-smokers and they're not having to edit there just is not enough time in the day to edit. And somebody will pipe in about they use some of the debreathers that are out there, and then they have to audit everything. Do not do that. Don't ignore those people. They're just, I don't want to say they're wrong. You can do whatever you want, but you have to audit everyone and there is a breath control, but you know what? I guarantee you that thing is like for singers. And the other ones that are on the marketplace were originally designed for singers too. And they're singers, they sing a phrase, they take a big breath, and then they sing another phrase, and that's part of the way they work, but it's not the way exactly the same process when we speak. The sound of a breath is also within some words. And so it is absolutely something that is almost, I don't know, it's not impossible. They'll figure it out someday, but it's a really tough thing for spoken word to get the repair tools to do it the way the mouth declicker works. The mouth declicker, that's transparent. I mean, it's amazing what it can do transparently. But the mouth clicks, they can identify differently the mouth noise from dialogue. And because it's identifiable and not part of the way we speak, it can do a great job, and it's just a different animal. So you can do it through your performance. All right, enough of that. Yeah, I hear, yes, yeah, we all hear our own breaths more than others. You know, absolutely. I had one guy, there's an audiobook I was listening to, and I had been listening to it for a couple of weeks, and I had it in my shower one day. I have this little shelf. My phone is waterproof in terms of it can get a little wet. Got one of these Samsung things. And so I have a shelf that sits on the shower. I'm playing audiobooks, and I'm thinking, wow, this guy's got no breaths. And then I go ahead and I'm out of the shower. I have the shower turned off. I listen. Oh yeah, they're actually there. Matter of fact, they're actually there way more than I thought. And I started listening. I'm listening in my car. It's like, oh, their breaths are there too. I, once I was paying attention, what it really came down to is I was engrossed in this content. I didn't hear the breaths. As soon as I, one day thought, wow, wait, there's no breaths in this. And then did they de-breath this? And then I went and started listening in other places and going, oh, hey, these other people have breaths too. And breaths make us human. They also take time. One of my disagreements with somebody who's going to take a deep breather and cut out their breath or cut them down so much that the others don't hear them is there's time there where there is no sound. And when there is a sound there, it's a natural part of our speech pattern that during the time that I don't speak, I'm taking a breath or thinking, but it's part of the way somebody speaks naturally. Everybody does it. How long are you going to say a sentence or a phrase before you take a breath? I can tell you the average is about 6 seconds. How do I know that? I've analyzed a bunch of audio. Maybe you're 7 seconds. Maybe you're 5 seconds. Maybe you're a singer like my wife, and she can and practiced all when she was a young lady. She practiced singing, and they want to take one breath and have it last. And she was so proud when we started this audiobook stuff that if some author wrote a run-on sentence that she could do the whole thing without running out of breath. But that's not how I go, hey, yeah, but that character's supposed to be me. That's a bozo guy that doesn't speak very well. He's not super well educated. And he's not going to try to say this big long sentence with no breath because it doesn't sound like him. It's not the way he would talk. And so even though you can do what the guy wrote, what the gal wrote, what the author put together without breathing, it just gets to be something that doesn't sound like a real person. You might be able to pull it off, but don't. Okay? Real people breathe more. Listen to your spouse, listen to your friend, listen to your parents, listen to your siblings, listen to your kids. Next time you're at dinner, listen to how much everybody breathes. It's wild. And if you see any live interviews, you'll also find that too. So let me look at the other. So I know, first off, people do ask this question. I've heard it 100 times. I also have hundreds that are not doing it. So can you bring it down? By the way, if you do bring it down and you bring it down too much, and depending on how you do it, you can leave holes in your audio. Let me find a breath in here. Let me just find one, see if I can find one. This isn't my audio. Let me see if I can find one. Oh, there's a breath. All right. There's a breath right there. I can tell by the look of it. And if I switch it over to the other view, boom, there's a little breath. There's a breath. You can see a little breath there. You can see a little breath there. Trick that I talk about in the jump start. You can zoom in. There's a breath. Okay. You can see those little breaths. I just know what they look like. Double click gets it back. So there's a breath. And that's so quiet. I would never adjust that breath. But what I'm going to do is bring it up. And if I bring it up, I could use the gain control. I can be selective about it. A lot of people just they highlight the whole thing and they go ahead and they find the gain control, or they use spectral repair, and they bring it down. So, you can do that. There we go, -6. By the way, if you're bringing down anything more than -6, you have a performance issue that you can anybody can bring theirs down that much. Don't bring it down any more than that. So I just softened it there, brought it down if I needed to. But if I do that, there are some breaths, depending on where they are, or that will sound funny because that means my room tone is also going to drop down some, and there's not enough there to cover the difference, and that will end up sounding funny. And remember, if you take that out in terms of just cutting the volume down dramatically, now I have either a hole in my audio and if it's turned down, I'm going to just turn it down. It's ridiculous. Don't do this. But now all of a sudden it sounds funny, and the breath took some time. And when that time is gone, you'd have to cut the whole audio. If you cut off about a third, 25 to 30%, plus or minus a little bit there, then it sounds a lot more natural if that were a place where somebody didn't take a breath. They actually stop. There's a pause between things for that breathing. And we've heard it our whole life. And if you cut out the breath and there's nothing there, it sounds like the person is a little bit, the phrasing sounds funny. The timing sounds funny. And the performance ultimately sounds funny to people. And they don't pick up on it. They don't know why Don sounds a little bit weird. They just know it doesn't sound right to them, and they'll never know why. But it's that there was something there subtly that is now missing. If the sky is supposed to be blue and you took out the sky in the back of a picture and you white it all out, it just doesn't look like you're outdoors. You still might look like you, but it's not going to look like a natural setting that it was outdoors. It's going to look different. We put filters on things. It changes the background so that you don't know where somebody was potentially. Well, it depends. There's 100 filters. But one example would be I blur out the whole background here, and now you don't know whether I'm in my office or if I'm outside, if I'm in a room. You just don't know any of those details. That's fine if that's the effect you want. You turn down breaths enough, and if it sounds like silence to people that they can't hear them anymore, sounds funny to them. All right, enough of that rant. Oh, yes, you're a human. Cool, cool, cool. Oh, yeah. So Lisa complained to me in a good way the other day. She's like, oh, what they did was, a lot of times she'll get things that have scrap tracks. So I pretend I'm hiring her. I'm going to hire you to do a voiceover, okay? And when I hire you to do a voiceover, then what's going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and I'll just do this. I'll read the script, and then I'll hire you, and you'll do it right. So, hey, buy RX Jumpstart today before the special is over, and there's some picture, and watch this kid riding a bike, and so there will be some words that go with the graphics. Well, so what some of the people are doing now is they're having AI create the scrap track, and then they send it to us, and they built a video around the AI voicing this, and they say, yeah, we really want a real person, but we used AI to do the scrap track. What they don't account for is the fact that the AI does not breathe. So Lisa finds herself having to rush a phrase, a sentence, a paragraph because of the way it's structured, because she now has to match that visual that they thought was going to be just replace, sound human, and the timing's different, the feel is different, and so it ends up being kind of a weird thing to go in and replace an AI voice because they don't do the things that we do that make us sound human. Now, maybe someday they'll do that. Today they don't. And on some phrases, it totally works. But if you're working on something that's 5 minutes long, you run into this one, and it cracked me up. She has to speak a little faster and fit something in because the way they did it, there was no breaths, and to match the visual, she's got to be done at a certain time. So their scrap track was not very good, and then all of a sudden it sounds different than other sections where they had certain visuals and that the way a human would phrase. Anyway, it all comes out that timing is different without breaths, and if you make them quiet enough to where somebody else can't hear them, then it's a whole different animal. All right, that's a whole side thing. You had to close RX10 and open it again before you could find. It depends on some of them. There are some that's the case usually, and that, let's see, it depends. What platform are you on? Let me know that too. In the Mac or the PC. when I explore presets, depends, but mine's not opening 2 windows. I think you might have, maybe you double clicked on it. That's possible too. Because if I do that, if I do dialogue de-reverb and I just go ahead and I say explore presets, I only get 1 window. So I don't know why we got 2. Okay, that's not the same one. Oh, I got 2 there. Hey, look at that. Look at that. Hey, Gary, maybe it opens 2. What did I do? Explore presets. Does it open 2 windows? Look at that. It opens 2 windows. I don't know why that does open 2 windows. So yeah, mine opens 2 windows too. I wonder if it does in the other one. Hold on, let me go on the other one. That's in RX10. I don't know what happens in RX7. I don't remember it doing that, so I didn't think it did that. So I don't know if it does it on all of them, but I'm going to find out right now. Good comment. Look at that. Don's learning too. I always learn something. Explore preset. Look at that. 7, I only get 1 window. Okay? Yep, 2 windows in RX10. Don't ask me why. All right? That's going to be one of the mysteries of the universe. And I know I'm on the latest, by the way. Let me make sure I'm on the latest. I think there's a 10.5. I'm almost positive there's a 10.5, and it has to do if you're on, especially if you're on Sonoma, then you need 10.5. I'm almost positive it's 10.5, but it's not on, but it's not for the previous one. So, by the way, if you go help about RX, then it shows you this page. It's kind of a weird page. There's no interface on it, and it gives credit to all the cool people that are in the background here. Alexei, who, yeah, he's going to be on my show sometime soon. Anyway, point being, you can check your version, and they don't announce them. They just slipstream them out there. And if somebody knows, is 10.5 it doesn't matter which one you copy to, Gary. They'll both be identical. It doesn't matter. You copy to one, it'll be in the other. I can show that, but I promise you, they're the same window. It'd just be like you can have 2 browser windows with the same thing. They're the same. If I'm hitting the RX Jumpstart site twice, then I just have the same thing up in 2 windows. You could drop it in either one, and it'll work. So that's an easy one. So you pick whichever one makes you happy, and both will work. Oh, on the Mac, it's called Reveal Preset in Finder. All right, thank you for that. I don't think it is that way. If you go, it depends on which versions you're in. And yeah, I know you're gonna find some details that are different. Okay, it's just they've changed one's called user presets. That's definite. I mentioned that earlier. One's called presets. One's called user presets. It does depend on which version you're starting with, which version you're going to. I predict if I open up RX9, which I'll just open RX9, came up on my other one here, and I'm going to say no to this. I'll bring it over to this monitor here. I predicted so I just pulled up RX9. I pull up RX9 and pull up multi-click, and what you're going to see is I go over here and I say explore presets, and now it gives us 2 windows too. See this 2 windows? But they're identical. Okay. No. RX10, multi-click, RX9. Oh, one's RX9. So I didn't get 2 windows. That's interesting. I only got 1. Oh, I know what it did. It brought up both of those. I already had a window open. So I think it might depend. I'll bet it's bringing up 1 window, but if you had another window open, it's going to bring up the file manager. Because I have more than 1 window open, it looks like 2 windows open. I suspect there's only 1 window really opening, but I could be wrong about that. But there's RX9. I didn't get 2 in RX9. And either one would work. And you can see that's different. There's RX10. There's RX9. I only got 1 window, but it looked like 2 windows were opening, but it's not. Because if I open up another one, you'll see. It's that it's bringing all the windows for File Explorer or the Finder in front of RX. And so you're seeing multiples there. So anyway, the paths are slightly different. But the principles are the same. Just bring them over, and that should work. Let me check and see if that. For the mod chains, automatically something on the goal of containing your files. Module chains on the Mac. By the way, I will. Yeah, they're not identical windows, Gary. I think I figured out why. They look identical, but I think it's just bringing forward all the, depending on what. You also have different versions, all right? So I'm on 7, 8, 9. But I tell you what, the principles are the same. And if they're identical, find the one for the version you're going to. RX10 is under, what is it called? I already saw it there. RX10, they're very specific. If they're previous versions, they have the version number. If they're not previous, depends on which one. So I do explore preset here, and this one is just RX audio editor. That's for 10. If I go in 9, I can't remember what it is, but I'll find out. And I go to multi-click again. And sometimes you and also it doesn't hurt anything to try it. Throw a copy. You're making a copy of them here, and see that brought up 9 and 10. See, it just brought them both to the front. That's not really opening up multiples; it's bringing them to the front. But it opened RX9, RX10, and so I don't even remember what's going on there. So what's that one? What's that one? There's RX Audio Editor. There's RX Audio Editor. Depending on what you had open previously, they're both open. And you get to presets, multi-click, multi-click, multi-click. And it's this one at RX9. This one says RX10. Why am I getting RX10? And I'm getting, oh, that's interesting. I don't remember why that is. Look at this. I wonder if this is, sometimes I get into we're going to figure this out, okay? Now we're all learning together. And this is the fun of doing live. That's RX10. That's RX Audio Editor. This one's multi-click. This one's multi-click. This one's user preset. You know what? They must have changed that because they, based on which versions that I can get different ones. So I don't know. I don't know on that one. Try them both. If as long as it says RX10 or Audio Editor, I mean, you can look at the dates also, which is really, really helpful. This is old, and you can figure out which one's the right one by opening up the module itself, and going, and this tells me which one. This is the one it's looking at. When I do Explore Preset, that's the one it's looking at here. This is the multi-click one it's looking at. See, this one and this one are the same. So it's looking at this one. And you can compare them if you need to. You put this up here, you drop this right down here, and you're going to see that this matches up to this one over here. I can see it right there. Let me zoom in on that, and you'll see it. You'll see that those match up. I drop this down right here. One case they're in alphabetical order, so I'll put this back in alpha order instead of date order, and then they'll match up. And there they match. You can see them right there. I put them side by side, drop this down, they match. Okay? So they show up right there. And this one, of course, the one thing that's weird is in RX10, you end up with a situation that there are the built-in ones and there are the custom ones. So they're going to all be part of the same thing. So the custom ones, so it's not going to match one for one 100%, because you're going to have custom ones and you're going to have the ones that come with it, and they're not in the same folder anymore. You go back a few years and they were in the same folder. They're no longer there that way. They have separate folders for them because it makes it easier for them to do the upgrades. All right, that's and by the way, it sometimes can take me hours to figure out why there's some little minor difference between them. And eventually I've come to the conclusion later, like I'll stare at this stuff for hours and I go, oh, that's why they did that. Made no sense to me at first. And I can't remember, but I've had that, and it's like, I see why they did that. But I don't see it at first. And I don't see it on the day I'm doing it. But I see it 2 weeks later, 2 months later. It comes to me, you figure out, yep, there's a reason. There's some logical reason why there's user presets. And I have to admit on mine, I get into this whole weird thing. I have to be very careful on mine. I have betas on different stuff. I've had betas back to version 3. No, I did not. I was not on version 3 beta. I paid full price for version 3. By version 4, I was on the beta. And I have been since every version since then. And so sometimes I'll have folders that were there during one of the early betas, and some of my presets may have ended up in a beta folder, and it knew where it was when I was looking at something, and it's taken me there. So yeah, that's always kind of a weird thing too that I have to be careful about, that I'm still on a machine that's had, I've had 25 versions of this stuff, because I was through, 6 months worth of stuff where I was doing a pre-release thing. Anyway, so yours may not be identical, but you know what? Read between the lines, figure it out, drop things in. After you drop it in and you refresh it, you are going to instantly see if after you do the reload, are they there? Are they not? And the only one that I guarantee you won't work is the, what is it? Spectral denoise. That one, you're always going to relearn that one. Guaranteed on that one. It'll get the numbers and you should reevaluate it anyway. Okay? So I hope that helps. I hope that gets you 98% of the way there. Add your keyboard shortcuts and life will be good. You may have to figure out a couple things, but guarantee you, first off, if you drop it in the wrong folder, like if I took this is a multi-click, I usually tend to add some, because I'm moving in between machines. If you copy that and you run over here and you go into user presets and you go into deplosive here and you drop that preset in the wrong spot, see there's no user preset for that, but I go ahead and I paste that guy in there. The deplosive's going to look at me. It won't look at me. The deplosive's going to just ignore that. I'm going to go over find deplosive. What is it called? Deplosive. Yeah, that's with a D. Okay, it looks just like it's spelled. And I go over here. It sees it, but it goes, no, you're a bozo. It's not a preset for this module and cannot be loaded. It kind of knows. Is Don an idiot? We're not going to have that discussion, but it figures out that that's in the wrong place. It does not apply. I drop that into into the multi-click and it totally works. So it is checking to make sure that the module that I put in here is the one that works. The preset that I put in here makes sense with this, so I don't have to worry about that. So anyways, let me look at questions. Questions. Close all your folders and the Explorer 10, you'll see 2 different windows. So, Gary, you know what? Sorry, do it or don't do it. 2 windows, too bad. I don't know, okay? You put them in both and see which one works. One of them's right, one of them's wrong. If are they too different? And you're going to have to figure it out. Try one, try the other. On the PC, one of my orders preset, one is user presets, yes. One of your James will absolutely be presets. That's the old version. The new one is user preset, absolutely, because they figured out that's how they're moving them forward. They separated the user ones from they used to all be commingled. Whatever they put in there, there was just one place for presets, and they were putting them all there, and that's just the way it went. So at that point, somebody realized, hey, that's kind of dumb. Let's put the user presets in one place and let's put ours in another. And now the built-in ones are in another location, which I'm not going to disclose right now, but you can find them. Just search around on your machine if you want. You can find all the presets. They're there. It's easy. No big deal. I've found them plenty of times before. But yes, you are correct. On the Mac, they're contained in a folder under user preset. Okay, good. Our module chain window doesn't have a Real Explorer. Yeah, that's true. But the module chains are there as well. It just doesn't let you explore that one. So if I do, it's the same on the PC, by the way. And so if I open this up and I go here, then I just have a port export. But if I go behind the scenes, so watch this. Let's take, I like using multi-click. I don't know why, because I like it. So I'll take multi-click here and I do this and I'm on version 10 and I say explore preset. If you back up, so this is the thing you do, by the way, all this stuff gets easier if you know something about the way the file manager and the way things are organized. But when I look in user presets here, guess what happens? There's a module chain folder here, and it has all the stuff that that's there that you need, but they don't let you explore it. Why? I don't know. I have a pretty good guess though. Whoever wrote the module chains, it's a different person than wrote some of the other things. It's the same thing as why some tools have been written years later, and you'll notice the behavior is different of different aspects of it. Spectral and denoise was written, we're going on 10, 12 years ago and been upgraded, but that has a different core than when someone did multi-click. That's much younger. And then there's some other things. When you look at the new dialogue de-reverb, this tool was written in the last few years, and it only has a couple because it doesn't need all the stuff that the old ones did. So it really works on a whole different concept. And multi-click works on a totally different, like they always told you, hey, if you're using denoisers, do 2 light passes if you're going to do denoising, because that's better than one heavy pass in some cases. It's also wrong for some cases too, by the way. But that doesn't apply to multi-click. It really doesn't. People are doing 2 light passes, and it's not the same as, like, you can't take 2 3s and add them up and have it be the same as a 6. It does not work that way. And I can, if we want to go through and prove it, I mean, I just tested it way too many times. They don't work that way. This one's not the same. So sometimes some things that we generalized in the past about the way a tool worked is not the same way as a newer tool works there. So yeah, just be careful about the generalizations is the end of that. All right. Hope this helps. And I should have brought up my Mac and made sure. I've done it on both the Mac. I've done it on the PC. I've done this for easily 200 people where I've just brought them over, and I've done it on the Mac, I've done it on the PC. It's the same exact concept. I may have a detail wrong. I may have a folder, there's a space in one, there's a variation. But usually what that means is usually there was an upgrade to something at some point, and then when that upgrade came in, they changed it between versions. Okay, but if you go from 9 to 10, then that'll stay. So it should stay as you move forward. We always have to uncheck that. But if you ever look at this and somebody's paying attention, what they'll notice is this is the weirdest thing. There's a checkbox in the middle of a screen. If you look through every one of their other screens where they have checkboxes are always all on top of each other on everything they do. This is more like the way checkboxes are. They just ran out of space on this tab, and this space was open, and somebody figured out this was supposed to be temporary. This came in RX 4.0 A or B. I think it was B. Could have been A. Anyway, there was a little incremental version about a month and a half after the first version shipped, and they added this checkbox. And some developer who got assigned the task of adding that checkbox looked at the screen and said, shoot, I'd have to make this whole thing taller, and that's going to affect the layout of every single, I'm going to have to change the layout or redo the layout on all the others. And what I'm going to do instead, I'm just going to throw it right there because there's enough space. This was short enough for them to squeeze that in. And I was told, hey, that'll be fixed in the next one. They're going to redo this box. And then they just never did. It stayed that way for the last 10 years. It's been since 2014. Well, that's the way things happen in life. I intend to polish my car or put new rims on it. And then you get the car for a couple of years and you go, it doesn't need new rims. It's fine the way it is. You know, I remember when I bought my house, I thought, I'll do this, this, and this. Well, I did this and this, but the final and this, 20 years later, I've never done it. And that's what happened here. This is one of these one-time, once every year or once every couple of years, somebody has to go in and check this box, and they just said, all right, first world problem. That's kind of what that comes down to. And we document it, and that's how it works. All right, so hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Joe, thank you. Also, thank you for doing the cross-check and being on the Mac version and letting us know the differences in real time. Super helpful. I could have done that. I should have done that. I could have had it open up here in the thing. The complexity is already high just having 2 on the same machine, but I should have done it. I should have at least, it's user presets on one and it's not on the other. And you can go crazy with that stuff, but you know what? It's logical. And if you look through a couple of them, you just do it the same way each time. They're all the same. They're all the same. So you can get to module chain by going through all the other ones, and you'll see that folder there. If there's no folder, what you'll know is this. It's not going to be able to be moved from one to another. It's why you can't move batch processes from RX7, like window batch processing in RX7, if I remember right, is not available. No, I'm absolutely sure. You cannot do a batch processor from RX7 and have the same thing work in 9 or 10. It's a different interface, and the way it works is different. So you have to translate it and rewrite it. But once you get your module chain done, it's easy. And once again, the Jumpstart does go over module chains in depth and make sure you know how to use those and the batch processors. So, hey, if you need something that's step-by-step, go ahead and do that. If you have other questions or comments or other things that should be, Spectral denoise will not copy over, Gary. I mentioned that 2 or 3 times. If you that's one you just have to relearn and then make sure that the settings are right. for your current one. If your room's still the same, the settings be the same, but you need to learn, have it learn on a new piece of audio, because it's just not going to work, guaranteed. It's a guaranteed fail. It's the one I absolutely know will not work, and your audio will sound like it's underwater if you just copy it over. So I don't copy it. I just go ahead and learn it and readjust it and tweak it. And now it's the time. If you're going back, like if you're going from 7 to 10, that's what, 3 or 4 years. I'll bet your room has changed. I'll bet your mic maybe has changed. And it's just a good time to reevaluate. Or even if none of that stuff changed, a lot of times in a house, there will be a noise that was there or isn't there, one of those two. And that's just the way life works. And every couple of years, it's worth going ahead and verifying that one, especially because Spectral denoise is an amazing tool. But it's also like a chainsaw. I consider it the biggest chainsaw tool that we have, one of them. There's a couple of them in here. A chainsaw can cut down trees and just be insanely productive. Cut off branches, cut off trees, cut them up into little pieces, all that kind of thing. And if I don't take care with a chainsaw while I'm using it, I can cut my fingers off, unfortunately, or hurt myself. They can do a lot of damage to a tree. They can do a lot of good, get a ton of work done. They're, used all over the place. But if I don't respect it, and that's how I consider Spectral denoise. If I misuse it, then I hurt my audio. Hey, the good thing is I can just re-export it from my DAW and try her again. So most of us, it's not the end of the world. It's not life-changing like a chainsaw. That's an extreme example. But that one you get to redo, and you always get to do. Okay? Spectral repair, yeah, you can bring over spectral repair. It'll be fine. Sorry. Spectral repair, no problem. Those numbers will come over. It'll work. You don't have to, whole different concept than Spectral denoise. Same name, different concept. All right. Yeah, Joe, and absolutely not needed. So Joe's saying, I gotta bring that one up because that's a good one. Honestly, maybe over the top, but I train Spectral denoise a couple seconds of room tone on every session. Unless you're in a house that's constantly changing, I have people that have been using the same Spectral denoise sessions gracefully and effectively with the same one that they did once, and once a year they make sure it's still the same, and it works great. And I'll say 95, 98% of my clients don't change it after they get it set. But if you want to retrain it each time, that's cool. It only takes 5 seconds. You're right. But it's still an unnecessary thing. And if you're going to retrain it every time, I guess, let's see. I don't know if that implies that you're not using it as part of a batch. Because if you're using it as part of a batch and set it up in advance, so you'd have to retrain it every time. That's fine. But I still don't. I'm not going to do it for the batches. But you could. You certainly could. So I think for 95% of the situations, it's a waste of time unless your environment is changing a lot, especially with that tool. I don't think it's necessary. But I'd try it both ways, just for fun. Go ahead and I agree. It only takes 5 seconds, but it's 5 seconds every time, and it's part of the process. And I don't think it's necessary. But there could be a case where absolutely I'd be doing it every time. The great thing is that we are all thinkers. And if you have a situation that goes, there's exceptions to everything. So I've done all sorts of weird things. I have a certain set of order that I do everything. And I've got there's sometimes a piece of audio that I could have done it either way, and it still would have turned out fantastic or terrible, whichever way I had done it. So there are cases and exceptions to everything. So I have done everything backwards, and but if you're in the same place all the time with the same audio, with the same mics and the same voicing and the same placement, then it's pretty rare. Now it can be, hey, in the summer I have an air conditioner running. Now I don't. I record with my air conditioner. There are some things you could have where, retrain it every time would help. In most cases, the 90% cases, nope, you don't need to. So, there could be some case. So, try it both ways and let me know, okay? And there are exceptions, so don't think I'm saying, oh, you can't do it. Yeah, I want to be the most productive I can, and I will do any extra baby step if it'll give me better quality audio, and it's worth it. Okay, meaning that it's got to be worth it. I have to admit, as I mature, there are some things where I become a little less militant about, and then there are some things that I become more militant about. it goes both ways. There's some things where I realize, hey, nobody cares about an extra breath or an extra mouth noise if I have the 90% covered. And I don't need perfection. I need excellence. And they are different things. Okay. I just do not need perfect. And there is no perfect. But so try it both ways. And also see if your clients ever notice quality. Because one, I know they don't have good ears. Most of them don't have good equipment that they're listening on. So I'm not going to take their opinion just that they rehire me. That's cool. I want them to do that. I want to earn that right. All my wife's audio, I want them to go, wow. But that doesn't mean that they're the ones that have decided that the quality is good enough. I'm always miles ahead of where my clients expect or probably hear. But perfect? I've never put out anything perfect. I'm always embarrassed in one sense, simply because I know what good stuff is. And then when it's not as perfect because, hey, they didn't have the budget. And am I going to, if you have a budget to go to McDonald's, then I'm going to maximize the budget that you had that you were going to spend in a McDonald's and maybe find a place to eat for that same amount of money the best we possibly can. But I'm not going to say, yeah, let's take a budget from McDonald's and let's give them the same thing as what's a good 5-star hotel in their nicest restaurant. I can't even, I'm drawing a blank on the restaurant down by, there's a few really good high-end 5-star places here in LA. Okay. And I'm not going to, let's see if anyone got it for me. The Ritz-Carlton. Thank you. Fritz, Lisa, you mistyped that. I think you meant Ritz. The Ritz-Carlton. So they've got killer restaurants. And when I was younger, I was on expense accounts, and I had a guy that I was working with, and he loved those good restaurants. And it's like, okay, you're the one in charge of the expense account. You want to go? I'll accompany you. Okay. Yeah, I'm going in ordering this stuff. It's really good. It's not the same thing as, but they have budget. They were going to charge us $100 per person or $200 per person. And for $200 per person or even $100, $50, it should be way better than what I could get at McDonald's. But what it comes down to is that for the equivalent budget, then I want to get the absolute best out of that budget. And there are times where you can cut corners because, yeah, what the way they would do a burger, I'm going to guess at the Ritz, I don't know how they do it, but I'm going to hope that they're going to use a better grade of meat than what I'm getting at McDonald's. Okay. I'll be really disappointed if I find out that they have the same supplier and it's really the same beef going to both of them. That would bum me out. Okay. Now, it could happen. It could be dumb old Don thinks that because it's more expensive, it's better. That's possible. Okay. In some, especially areas that I don't know about. But from an audio perspective, we don't have to have perfection. We just want to be in the top 10% so that when anybody listens to your stuff, they're not distracted by your tech. Once we get beyond that, work on our performance. Make my performance better. Work on your performance. Get your performance better. Get the tech stuff to where it's transparent. I don't want my wife ever thinking about the tech. All right. Unless she has a problem with it and she's calling me about the problem, then that's one thing. As far as actually worried about it on a day-to-day basis, I just really hope and work hard to make sure everything she does, she can focus on her performance. Same with my son, same with everybody I work with. I want everyone focused on their performance once they get past about 3 months into this thing. They should never have to. Maria McCann's kicking butt, doing 47 books in a year. She ain't worried about her tech stuff. She's worried about her performance. And she's worried about how she can perform better in the next book and the next book and the next book. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Yes, tech things come up occasionally, but that's pretty rare, and it's just a minor part of it. All right, everyone, you have a fantastic day. If I missed anything or you have a very specific topic, be sure to let me know so I can go ahead and put together a session and make this happen for the next time we do this. I'm doing lives every week. I have Ask Heller is tomorrow. You can join us for that one. Ask Us Anything with Heller and I are talking about everything audiobook related primarily. You can ask whatever you want. I have a tech one every Tuesday called it's called VOTech Live, VO Simplified Live. So, join that one, VOTech Simplified Live. All right. That's every Tuesday as well. Check these out. Send me questions, send me comments, send me feedback. Look forward to seeing you on the wires. You have a great one. Bye-bye.